Nearly all developers are doing this one mistake in Tailwind CSS. They are writing the same classes over and over again and bloating up the HTML. And after some time passed, your code will look something like this, where you have like a lot of CSS classes or Tailwind classes on top of your elements. And you see, if this is a very long file, a very long page, and we have more complexity into it, you have misused so much space with Tailwind CSS classes, which is like really bloating up your HTML. You don't have a good code readability. You don't have a good code maintainability. You just don't see very good what you're looking at. For example, how do I see which of these paragraphs is a supporting paragraph? I really need to look into the classes and see, oh, okay, font light. So I think this is more of a small thing here with text SM. But the number one mistake is really that people are writing the classes over and over again. So for example, let's say you have the next page, a different page. I don't know. Let's call it here lyrics. Then you have like the same elements, like you have always an H1 on the top. That's like the basic thing on every site. And you always have paragraphs on your page. That's also a thing that every site has. But still, you're writing the same classes, the same Tailwind classes over and over again. Why not have it consistent? Why not have it equal? That's what we're looking at today. So I have two approaches for you. The first approach is by going into your globals.css inside of your project or anywhere where you specify the CSS of your project, or maybe SCSS, depends on what you're using, what you prefer. And then Tailwind is delivering you this one possibility to use the apply class. So you can say something like H1. So I want now that, okay, he's telling me already, so he's spoilering, but let's just use different styles because we should use the same styles as in the bad approach. So in the bad approach, we have these styles for the H1. And what you really want to have is the same styles for every H1 on the page. The one H1 shouldn't be font bold and the next one should be a light font or underline, no underline, italic or no italic, different colors. You don't want that. You want the same H1, the same heading every time. And with doing it like this, you can secure that. You say, okay, I want the H1 to always be like this. So if I go into our good approach now, I just say H1 here, and let's use the good approach inside of the page TSX. I will show you the bad approach first, that you can see this one. So this is the bad approach now. It's just a German poem, nothing crazy. So you have a nice heading. You have like a supported paragraph or a descriptive paragraph, you could say. And you have a normal paragraph, like we know that. And then let's switch to the good approach. And we see, okay, this is already looking the same. This one is not, because I didn't have specified rules for that now. So let's go for it. We have this global CSS, and you already have seen that this H1 looks the same as before. And let's do it for the P shortly too. So we say P equals 2, and then we type in add apply. And now we take from the bad approach the classes like those for the normal P tag and just put them behind it. And that's basically all. So now if we look at the browser, we see this looks the same as before, but the code looks way cleaner. So if we go into the good approach, you see this is looking kind of clean now. We just need to specify it on the descriptive P, because this is using both the same HTML element, so the paragraph, but we slightly want different styles. So that's why I just call this the good approach. It's not the best approach, or I will show you now a better approach. If you see this and this, then this is much easier to understand because we got way less code on this file. So this is always a good thing. But the problem I have with this file is that I can't see directly, okay, I can see directly what is the H1, I mean, or the heading. I mean, I know H1 heading, but every team on the world is doing it differently. Some has H1, some has H3, H4, H5, H6. I know teams that are not even using H2 or H4 or H6 and just using H1, H3, H5. It really depends. And that's why I show you now the next approach, because what I not see here is what is this P? I really need to get into it and to look at, okay, it's a small one. It's more of a grayish tone and it's a light font. So I think it's just a descriptive P, but I can't see it's a descriptive P, but I want to see that this is a descriptive P. So now we head over to the better approach. So I will comment that one in here now. Wow. And the better approach will look something like this. So you specify your own components. That's like the gold supreme premium way of doing things. You head over into something like a components folder. Let me clear this here a little bit up. You go into something like a components folder like this, where you specify maybe a components.tsx, or you make a TSX component for every component you want to make. So you know, component libraries are a big thing today. You have Shadcyan, you have Magic UI, you have Eternity UI, you have so many component libraries, most of the time already building on Shadcyan, or all of them are building on, I think Radix UI is it called, but doesn't matter. The key feature of it is like you have this station where you specify basic styles and are just using them in your application. So you secure that your application always looks the same. So every H1 is looking the same, every paragraph is looking the same, every descriptive paragraph is looking the same. So here I specified 3 components now, like an H1, a normal P, a paragraph, and a descriptive P. And I would suggest you to write them always in caps, because that's like, they can name it like everybody is already knowing it, and you just tell your team, okay, our components are just named like the normal components in HTML, but with a capital letter starting. So this is an easy way. What did I done here? For example, for one component, I just used the children pattern to implement children into the H1. So I can do something like this, that I just implement the text der Erlkönig here inside the H1. So this is the children and gets passed through a normal HTML H1, where I then implement the Tailwind classes that should be used. That's the go-to approach. So you have your H1, you have your descriptive P. So I know exactly this is a descriptive P. I don't have to look at the Tailwind for that, because I just have a good name for that. And this is a normal paragraph. And by using that way, you can really secure that your easy components in your application are always looking the same. So you have a better maintainability, you have a better readability. I mean, look at this file. You really understand what's going on here just with the tag names, which is very, very good. And you are following the dry principle. Dry principle is don't repeat yourself. And by doing it the bad approach, where I have this lyrics here, maybe I have a poem, and maybe I have different pages here and there, and every page has an H1, and I'm copying the H1 style onto every H1 element, it is not the best approach. You shouldn't use this. I mean, Tailwind is securing that this is minified at the end or at build time, so you're not getting a overblowed CSS file shipped to the client or shipped to the server, but it's just not looking good. Let's be honest, it's just ugly. This is not the worst approach you see here. This is a okay approach. There are approaches where you go really like twice the amount and having so many classes here on them that you really need to go through that and see, oh, what is this doing now? Because we always use things like paragraphs. We always use things like divs, for example, and the div is really not telling you much about what it is doing. So you really need to go in there and see what it is doing. But if you just want a div, which is maybe a circle with some blur or something like a design effect, just name it blurred circle and make a component out of it and use it as a component. So you directly see in your code, oh, it's a blurred circle. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say to you in this video. So really like use component, build your own component library while doing your project. I think you can just win with that approach. The result will always look the same. It looks good. If you do everything right, you can use the apply approach I showed you from Tailwind. You can use the component approach that I just gave you. And but you can also combine 2 approaches. You can say, okay, I specify basic values for H1 or P, but then I use it in a different component so I can have more flexibility and maybe more functionality. You are free to go here. Let's just start a discussion in the comments. Tell me what you think about that. Tell me how you do it. And yeah, see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.